Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here. This is a little bit different start to a video. I recorded a historic metagame challenge where I was playing Tainted Pact, and I had a good time, and as you can see by the length of this video, I did pretty well, and there's some pretty interesting games in there, so I wanted to publish it. But after I finished, I realized that I had made a mistake, and there were actually more new cards to add to the deck than I initially thought. So I'm going to go over the updates I should have made to the deck before I get into the gameplay with the older version of the deck. It's still pretty relevant. I mean, we're going to see that it's like a 3-card difference in a singleton deck. So not too big of a difference, but I did want to share kind of what I think is the final version. I got tripped up by the fact that I didn't realize that there were Bloomburrow commander cards that had made it onto Arena. And honestly, I'm not even sure how you search for them. Like if you want to just see a set that's all of the Bloomburrow commander cards that went in Arena in the filters, I don't even know how you do that. But anyway, it turns out that Jace the Mind Sculptor is on Arena, and it has been for a little while. And Baleful Strix came in at the same time. So those are two, I think, pretty good inclusions in the deck. The version that you see me play in the Historic Metagame Challenge, I'm still playing a Mazemind Tome and a Rusko. And I make the comment that Mazemind Tome is kind of on its way out of the deck, that, you know, if there's one or two more good cards added, then I'm probably going to cut Mazemind Tome. It turns out that there were one or two more good cards added, and I just didn't know that they existed. So I've got a Baleful Strix in my updated version, kind of in place of the Mazemind Tome, and a Jace in place of the Rusko. I moved to the Rusko to the sideboard, and I cut I had one Tamiyo that really didn't have a reason for being in the sideboard. It was just, I thought, a generically okay card. I kind of like Rusko in matchups where your life total matters and people have like Wizard's Lightnings that can kill Jace. So I would mostly recommend boarding it against like blue-red Wizards decks, or if you play against some sort of like more burn-heavy red deck where you want some amount of life gain, and the fact that this Jace only starts with 3 loyalty means that it's pretty hard to get it to survive. I mean, obviously you can always plus this Jace to get it to 5, but that isn't always the most exciting play for 4 mana. 2 other cards. One is Damnation, which I do have in my deck throughout the rest of this video. This came in with Duskmourn, and for a long time I'd really wanted Damnation as a card to add to these Tainted Pact lists, and I figured they would eventually get around to printing it. They've finally gotten around to printing it, but the power level of Historic has gotten to the point that it's not even that exciting, to be honest. We already have Toxic Deluge, which I think is better than Damnation, even though you have to pay life, but this is single black, and it's 3 mana instead of 4. So I think Toxic Deluge is clearly better than Damnation. I also think Path of Peril is better than Damnation, just because so many of the creature decks you play against in Historic are Lurrus decks, meaning that Path of Peril kills all the creatures in their deck that aren't Lurrus, which I think makes it generally better than Damnation, because obviously you can play this on turn 3, which in games when you're on the draw, you definitely want to play a turn 3 sweeper a lot of the time. So those are the 3 spell changes I would recommend making. And then there's one land change that I also missed in the games I recorded, which is I forgot about Gloom Lake Verge existing, which obviously this is a new Duskmourn card that's not from a weird set. I just overlooked it. I think this is good enough to be worth playing. Obviously, it's always going to give you blue. The black is a little bit conditional, but it's gotten to the point where a pretty high percentage of the lands in this deck are islands or swamps. So I think it's going to give black enough of the time. I cut a Forsaken Crossroads for it, which Forsaken Crossroads is definitely a good land, but the fact that it came into play tapped at least some of the time was a little bit annoying, especially I mean, it only has to come into play tapped when you're on the play, but it is sort of annoying in a deck that really wants to use all of its mana through the first 4 turns, that sometimes it was going to come into play tapped. If you really like Forsaken Crossroads, I could also see cutting the Captivating Crossroads for it. This is another one that comes into play tapped sometimes. This one's a little bit less restrictive. Like, it can always be your untapped 4th land if you're going for a turn 4 kill with Jace, because obviously on turn 4 you have the option to put it into play untapped. So those are the changes I would recommend, and I'm about to show you what happened in the Historic Metagame Challenge. Sorry about not having the completely up-to-date version of the deck, but as you can see, it takes a long time to record one of these Historic Metagame Challenges, and I didn't want to go through and do the whole thing over again when there's some pretty good games in here. So hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. This hand does not appear to contain enough land. Alright, this is better. Probably just ditch Path of Peril. Turn 1 Thoughtseize them and hope that I can Bloodchief's Thirst. Whatever I need to be able to kill. And I already have a Tainted Pact, so I just need to find a Jace and some more lands. So still, need a bunch of pieces to win, but this is not a bad hand for a mulligan for sure. My opponent has a 60-card deck at least. Sometimes in these metagame challenges, you play against people that have decks that are much larger than they should be. And probably some sort of prowess deck. I think I'm just going to take the Arcanist there. I'm expecting them to hit me with the Swift Spear, and then I'll just untap and Bloodchief's Thirst it. I didn't want to have to worry about potentially them holding the Arcanist in their hand and pasting it over with Reckless Charge on some key turn. We're both going to be playing off the top of our decks now. I guess they have this land that they can... Probably their deck doesn't need more than like 2 or 3 lands, so they could probably sack this, at the end of my turn. Or, okay. It is the Slick Shot Show Off. Which I'll probably let resolve and let them attack me and just see how much stuff they want to pump into it. Hope to get lucky. They don't have a way to protect it, which... I don't know what kind of... I guess they could have dive down type cards. It's not really clear why they've put blue in their deck to go with red. They might have Flame of Anor. They do have 2 wizards. Yep. These have nothing. So I could Tainted Pact for a way to kill that, or I could just Tithe the Eye Tyrant and eat the Reckless Charge. I think that's what I'm going to do. Possible they get a good turn with this way. But they had like one unknown card and a fiery islet they could crack, and then they just drew another fiery islet. Probably wouldn't be able to cycle that. I don't understand why they're not cracking their fiery islets. Rusko's here. We hope. Can have Wizard's Lightning, I suppose. Or Flame of an Ore. Flame of an Ore would be annoying. Yeah. This is a little bit scary now, because if they can pump the Dreadhorde Arcanist to the point that they can recast Flame of an Ore, it'd be pretty bad for me. The Archmage's Charm doesn't really do that much, at least in terms of countering a way to pump the Dreadhorde Arcanist because of Leyline of Resonance. Probably just going to play this to draw 2. If they were going to do this, why didn't they do it before they attacked so that it would trigger? So if I draw an untapped land, I can try to win. It's not an untapped land. Could have gone Tainted Pact for Jace. And then play the Jace and Tainted Pact to win with an 8th mana, but 7 mana is not enough. This hand's probably going to be good enough to win anyway, though. If they played more reasonably with the Dreadhorde Arcanist, they probably would have drawn 2 cards off of the Flame of an Ore. And they would be in a much better spot. Okay. I guess I messed up. I should have let the Leyline trigger resolve before I did this, because now they're actually going to get the Monstrous Rage, one of these things. Which could matter if they hit some sort of haste creature. Though I think I would only go to 1 if they hit a Monastery Swift Spear here. Or maybe 2. Come on, Jace. One time, could I find a Jace, please? We did it. Probably not going to be able to use the Spell Snare to good effect, given that they only have 1 mana untapped.
This is all just an illusion.
Just milled past Damnation, and I was just thinking, Damnation's probably too slow for this kind of a matchup.
How you play and don't.
Alright, cards that are obviously good. Let's say Ether Gust, Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm. All obviously pretty good. Also Duress. Saw Flame of Venor as their only blue card. Doesn't seem that appealing. Alright, I don't think I want Damnation. 3 steps ahead seems a little too expensive. I don't really love Censor, especially on the draw. Maybe the Tome. Maze Mind Tome is hanging on in this deck by just a thread. It's not really so much that I think that the Tome is a bad card. It's just that I think that the decks that you play against in Historic are just not good matchups for it. Like if there were other people playing more controlling decks, it would be a lot better. But I just play against like small creature decks pretty much every round, which makes it not that good. It is pretty hard for, especially cards that are intended for standard, to have much of an impact on this deck at this point, because it's gone from like a deck where it was you're playing mostly singleton, so you had to play some cards you weren't happy with, to really I could probably build a 70 card deck at this point and feel fine about all the cards. Wow. Not so sure about this guy's inclusion. Did they really have that many instants and sorceries that need a discount? Alright, even though I'm close to having the win, I think I should just go and get Path of Peril. They only have 2 cards left. I could steal it. I could just let it hit me. I could impulse and see if I find a counter I want to use on it. I think I'm going to just let it hit me. The one thing that punishes this play is if they have Flame of Venor. Although I guess if they have Flame of Venor, they're just going to be drawing 2 cards because they don't have a second target for it, so that doesn't really matter. Probably just going to shuffle the Brusco back in just because of Flame of Venor specifically. I don't think there's a reason to play something that just gives them a good target for it. Do this now so that if they save it with a spell, I can either Toxic Deluge to finish it off or just let it be saved and then it'll shrink back down on their turn. And I'm not going to Sleight of Hand because I'm going to leave up Archmage's Charm. It will Cling to Dust something out of their graveyard, probably. I think I'm just going to steal it. Let's get some prowess triggers going. Get this beatdown going. Actually, I think I'm not going to attack this turn unless I draw an untapped land, or I guess if I have a way to empty their hand, I'll attack. Wizard's Lightning. And I'm just going to stick to milling myself with the Jace, so I don't want to hit another Reckless Charge. Also, it gives me more fuel to Cling to Dust, basically, for as much as I can spend it. For as much as I can afford to spend 4 mana for the rest of this game, I'll probably be clinging to Dust. Or not. Start with this one, I guess. I don't think Thoughtseize really helps me very much here. I do have Snapcaster Mage in my deck, so it matters a little bit what I pick. There's also a Rusko that could cause my deck to reshuffle. Like, I should have... I don't know what... I probably could have taken something over the Sleight of Hand, which there's really no possible way that I'm ever going to play the Sleight of Hand out of my graveyard. Whereas, like, the Tainted Pact was important to keep, and the Archmage's Charm was pretty important to keep. Flame of Anor. You got it. We need a ring bearer. I think my opponent has realized it is done for. I'll Tainted Pact my deck away and then I'll opt. Or consider, I guess. Jeskai deck. Is this like one of those Jeskai energy control decks? I think that one of the cards that got nerfed the most was Galvanic Discharge. So I would guess that the Jeskai deck doesn't really exist anymore. I don't know exactly how they changed Galvanic Discharge, but they did something to it that makes nobody play it anymore. Whereas right after Modern Horizons 3 came out, like every deck had 4 copies of Galvanic Discharge in it. It's my experience. This is some sort of control deck. Nice. Not so nice that I have Damnation in my hand, but it's been a while since I've gotten to play a matchup like this. Stern Scolding might not be a brick. Most of the time people will have Snapcaster Mage in their deck. No more lies. No more lies indeed. So I know the bottom card of my deck is cut down. So this isn't a spot where I want to just like Tainted Pact and hope to find an island in my bottom handful of cards so that I can win. It's possible if they had tapped out and I hadn't known my bottom card, I might have gone for it. But knowing my bottom card, that really cuts into the chances of success because you already know that there's one miss in terms of having an untapped land. Falling behind on land drops is not very good. Hopefully they just play a land and pass the turn back and I get to end of turn Sorin's Ransom. Which, even if it doesn't resolve, it's at least eating a counter and getting another card into my graveyard for dig through time. I guess it could be no more lies and then it wouldn't be another card, but same thing basically applies. Then playing Expressive Iteration is worse for me than them doing nothing, but it's certainly better than them just deciding to like jam a Teferi here. Or a Narset. No ring bearers, sadly. Maybe there's a way they could play something with flash that would give me a creature here but not counter the Sorin's Ransom. I don't know how they could do that. They could Swan Song the Sorin's Ransom and then respond by playing a card that makes the Sorin's Ransom uncounterable. I don't know that there's a card that does that. Also, why would they do that? You can tell they're thinking about it, though. Really just want lands. Hey, I picked the pile of lands. And I'll probably wind up discarding a Damnation to hand size. I played the Fabled Passage both because I want to use it. You have to be careful with this deck that you can run out of basics in your deck pretty easily, especially if you're playing Tainted Pact and the game doesn't end immediately. Also, it gives me more fuel for this dig through time, which I think I'm not going to just fire it off here. I think there's a decent chance it would get countered. I don't really want it to run into No More Lies. Being deluged. Sadly, I don't have a Thought Distortion in my sideboard because this style of deck is just not very popular. They might actually still have Galvanic Discharge in their deck if they've got Tune the Narrative. We'll probably at some point find out what the nerf is to Galvanic Discharge. The Galvanic Discharges are annoying because unless they change it to be a sorcery, which I don't think they do changes like that, it can usually prevent you from winning if you have Jace Mysterious Wielder. I'm kind of thinking that their counters are probably for No More Lies and probably not that much more in their main deck. We'll certainly find out. I think I would Snapcaster Soren's Ransom. Over any of those other cards, given the opportunity. I don't think I want to just fire off a Tainted Pact here. What I'm probably going to do is into their turn Tainted Pact and just try to find Thoughtseize, or I think I only have Thoughtseize left in my deck because I drew the Inquisition and Duress is in my sideboard. Top. Certainly not worried about the Flage coming back because I'll just go for the Throat It. Like, I'd kind of like it if that's what they do on their turn, is they just have 4 mana. I don't really expect that to be what happens. It's also good to pick a fight here because I don't want to just pass on my turn and let them Memory Deluge for free. Goodbye, Rusco. Another Thoughtseize. So if I Thoughtseize them and they have straight up nothing, I can win with the cards I have in my hand. The Jace, Tainted Pact. I'm not expecting them to just have nothing. Invert Polarity. Man, I screwed up. I should have played a land. I didn't play this Takenuma because I thought I might want to save it to get back Jace. But now if they win the flip, it's awful for me. I think I'm just hoping they don't win the flip. They didn't. I didn't want to just 3 steps ahead it because that would allow them to play No More Lies. I think now my plan is to pass, assume they're going to pass on their turn, and then I'll just play Lorien Revealed on my turn. I maybe should just, it's maybe getting to the point where I should just go for it, because there really isn't that much left in my deck to improve my chances. It's great for me that they're doing this. I think given that they spent 4 mana here, I'm just gonna try to win. Yeah. Obviously don't need Do I need to fight over this Tajik? I do not. I want to save my 3 steps ahead to counter a Galvanic Discharge. So I have enough mana. I can Tainted Pact to get rid of my deck here. Well, leave like 1 card for me to draw. And then I can untap, play Jace, mill myself to get rid of my deck, and I'll be able to play 3 steps ahead to counter whatever they can do with 1 mana. Kind of hoping they have Galvanic Discharge just so I can see it cast, so I can know what it does now. Which, if they have it in their hand, I'm going to assume that it would do something to kill Jace, so they should play it, so I'll get to read. Okay, they nerfed it from 3 energy down to 2. So I still need to counter it.
Let's try this.
That's a really big nerf. From 3 energy down to 2. Alright, cards I want. Mystical Dispute, Negate, Narset, Duress. I think I want Psychic Frog. Probably want Noxious Grasp. It hits Flage and they might have Teferi's. Definitely want Flusterstorm, Spell Pierce. I think this Tamiyo used to be pretty bad in matchups like this because it would just die to Galvanic Discharge, but now it doesn't. So we'll probably keep that. I don't know if I want this Noxious Grasp. It doesn't hit that Tajik. It does hit Flage. It maybe hits Teferi. Maybe I want this Flute, but probably not. Cards I definitely don't want. Path of Peril, Toxic Deluge, Damnation. Go for the Throat. I'm going to leave Sheoldred's Edict in my deck. That I think is the best removal that I have. I have a lot of spot removal to cut. I could definitely cut Stern Scolding. It had at least a target, but it's certainly not an all-star in this matchup. Drowned in the Loch is probably fine. It's a little bit awkward against Flage. And I guess there's also the question, do I really want this Rusko? And I think the answer is no. I think that one can go. Do I want Ether Gust? Maybe over Stern Scolding. I might change that if I see that they have a bunch of Snapcaster Mages in game 2. This would be a pretty mediocre hand in an unknown matchup, but in this kind of matchup, it's actually a pretty good hand. They shocked and didn't do anything. Shocked again. A little bit confused why they're shocking so aggressively. I guess they're of the opinion in their life that it just doesn't matter at all. That's probably why they're doing it. It's a good card. I guess I'll keep it. I should probably have a Thought Distortion in my sideboard, just to tutor for with Waterlogged Teachings. So I think what I'm going to do is end of turn Waterlogged Teachings, maybe for Flusterstorm. Oh, you can't get Thought Distortion with Waterlogged Teachings. You can only get instants. Because what I would like to do here is get Thoughtseize, but that's not a legal play. Which really puts a damper on things. Maybe I should just get a card drawing card. I'm going to get Soren's Ransom. If I had a Memory Deluge in my deck, I would get that instead. Ooh, I drew Thoughtseize. The Waterlogged Teachings paid off. It thinned my deck. I'm hoping to see a hand after this Thoughtseize resolves that allows me to just jam Narset. I love it when people have Surgical Extraction in their deck. Narset's not great here, but I think it's good enough. The fact that there's the 1 energy nerf on Galvanic Discharge matters a lot too, because they can't just give me 1 Narset activation and clean it up. Alright, so they went for the Thoughtseize, gets to take 2 cards play. Thoughtseize make you discard your best and your worst card. But you get to see my hand. I think I'm probably going to Mystical Dispute whatever they spend their mana on here. Like if they 3 steps ahead, I'm going to Mystical Dispute it. If they Memory Deluge, I'm going to Mystical Dispute it. They can Wrath of the Skies my Narset, but that's 5 mana. I guess this does make the Wrath of the Skies good. In a way, at least. This is the one that mills, not exiles from the graveyard, so I can't get their Memory Deluge. This does not seem like a very good spot for them to just spend 5 mana to get the Narset off the board. The Censor's probably going to come in handy against the Memory Deluge. That was an extremely unimpressive Narset. I guess I don't need to worry about the Memory Deluge. I can just do this. Going to continue with Operation Find a Land. I guess the Narset was preventing them from doing the 5 mana mode on 3 steps ahead.
This was overwhelming.
I didn't want to just play the Maze Mind Tome there because I was worried that they would just spend 5 mana 3 steps ahead. I guess had I realized that the discharge, like they didn't have enough mana to play the discharge and the 3 steps ahead and fight through the Censor, then maybe I should have played that. I think things are going to be fine for me, though, if I just wait till their end step and play Sauron's Ransom and just keep getting ahead. Like, they're not going to be able to stop both of the Delve spells and Maze Mind Tome. And they're pretty far, I would say, from doing anything that would, like, threaten to pull them ahead. So this pile is better than Ether Gust land. It is better. I'm going to play a land because I think if they spend 5 mana on 3 steps ahead here, I'm actually going to do a big dig through time and response to maybe counter it. If I find Spell Pierce or Flusterstorm, I would just counter it. If they go to blow this up at sorcery speed, I'm just going to let them. I'll just draw a card. I've never felt like people getting to use Castle Vantress like this in blue-on-blue matchups is actually particularly good. Because it usually only happens in spots where people don't have good instants to play at the end of the other person's turn. Flage. You got it. So they left that on top. Weird. I suppose I might actually want to cling to dust it. Oh, I can't even afford to. I could have if I'd played the Surveil land and surveilled. That would have not. I wanted to have 8 mana though, because I wanted to be able to cling to dust, negate, and activate Maze Mind Tome. I really should not have let the auto tapper tap my underground river. Yeah, this doesn't get a land. Both of my islands and both of my swamps. really looking longingly at this Maze Mind Tome. When I said earlier that the Maze Mind Tome is on the border of getting cut, the thing that I like it in is in matchups like this, which is not a big part of Historic right now. But especially in sideboarded games, it just plays really well because it's so cheap to get into play. I guess I don't want to just run this into a permission spell, so I'm not going to play it here. Do get to discard the Prismatic Vista to hand size, which is nice because it doesn't do anything to put it into play. It just costs me a land drop, and I'd much rather it be in the graveyard now to feed Cling to Dust and dig through time. I think it's definitely not worth cycling Censor in a spot like this because I already know I'm going to get to make my land drops. I'm not really that close to trying to, it's like wanting to commit to some sort of big play on my own turn. Like I'm probably not going to just tap out to cast this Jace. So there's nothing I'm specifically digging for with the Censor right now. And even though they have a bunch of lands in play, this is the kind of game where both people are going to try to resolve a big pile of spells all at once. So it is possible that the Censor is going to do something, especially in conjunction with the Spell Pierce, which is also probably not looking that good right now, but I do actually have some hopes it's going to do something. I guess I'm pitching a land here. I'll just pitch a land. I'll play Seek New Knowledge into their turn and maybe play Dig Through Time as well. Probably I would get rid of the Spell Pierce if this resolves and I have to choose. Actually, I'll just get rid of Shieldred's Edict. So I want to leave up enough mana to play Change the Equation and pay for No More Lies. I think is my logic. There, I definitely don't want to just fully delve because the cards in my yard are useful for Cling to Dust. Best possible would be a discard spell. Flusterstorm and Tainted Pact looks pretty good. Need to be a little bit careful here because even though I have a ton of counters in my hand, if they just have Dovin's Veto in their hand and I don't find a discard card, I'm not guaranteed to be able to resolve this Jace. I believe my deck still has an Inquisition left in it. Yeah, I'm just going to take that. We're going to continue to play slow and steady. I still have another Jace in my deck as well. We're changing the equation here. Not necessarily going to play Jace. think I did that right. No, I may not have. I think I targeted my own spell. Ugh. Might have to burn my spell pierce because of a misclick. No, I did it right. I think Wrath of the Skies just doesn't even do anything, so we're not going to take that one. And I will play Jace at this point. And obviously I want to mill myself because I don't want to enable their Flage. They'd have to draw something pretty special here. Tormod's Crypt. That is not special in any way. This might be an even worse card for them to draw than the Surgical Extraction. At least the Surgical Extraction, I got to see my hand. Tormod's Crypt might have done something in a spot where I couldn't just freely respond with Cling to Dust because I could see that their hand doesn't do anything. Alright, I'm not working with much deck left. Got 12 cards left in my deck and 30 cards exiled. But it should be enough. And I will be cycling Censor now, I think. They're not even going to have enough time to draw enough spells that we could have like a big turn where they play a bunch of stuff. That was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Is my other Tainted Pact gone? Can I? No, it is gone. Okay. I guess I'm milling myself. I kind of wish that I had been a little bit more careful so I could draw the Shieldred's Edict. Probably doesn't matter. But maybe it does. I guess I could have put it on the bottom of my deck if I really cared about it.
Likes a bully.
This Drowning the Loch is not going to be good. I guess it's not so bad that I'm going to pitch it over a land, but it's not doing much here. There's a lot of ways I could have done this turn. I could have Otawara my Jace and replayed it. I could have played the other Jace. This is probably some sort of white-red Ajani energy deck. That's what Lurish usually means. I found the ones that play Goblin Bombardment and Glyphlonian Nightmare to be the hardest matchups. I didn't think I was going to cast Sheoldred's Edict with an Esper Sentinel on the board, and already having Toxic Deluge in my hand. Should I just Deluge now? I guess I can't. Definitely going to get a card off of the Toxic Deluge now. I guess I have to pay 5 life probably in case they have the white +1/+1 hexproof aura that has flash, Shard Mage's protection. Because if they put it on the Spirit Dancer, it would become a 4/5, I believe. If the math checks out. I think I maybe screwed up this game. I could have just gotten an island. Played the Hive of the Eye Tyrant untapped. I got something. Whatever it was, it didn't help them. I think I chose wisely, paying 5 life there. That's what that pause indicates to me. Oh, now we're an energy deck? What happened to being on Aura's deck? Now we're a light paw deck. They're coming at me from every angle. Seems like a weird inclusion in this deck. Like, if you're a light paw deck, you probably have a package of like pretty weird auras, and you're just going to randomly be hitting them. Turn 2 off the Amped Raptor? Why would you want that? I hope they can't kill me here. This thing triggers many times as their turns. Like, if they can't literally kill me, I'm gonna win. Okay, I suppose they could have Mana Tithe. Which I can play around Mana Tithe if I happen to find an untapped land in my bottom 3 cards. If there isn't an untapped land in my bottom 3 cards, then Mana Tithe gets me. But Mana Tithe would be a really weird card to have in your Aura's deck that has Amped Raptor. Because I think you do not want to hit Mana Tithe off of Amped Raptor. That new white flash enchantment that gives hexproof and +1/+1 does seem like a really good addition to these light paw Core Spirit Dancer decks. I'd kind of forgotten that this style of deck even existed, but it's probably actually gotten some pretty good new tools since the last time I saw it. Alright, so that one I couldn't take. That's not an untapped land. I have to take this, and this will be my draw step card. If it's an untapped land, I get to play around Mana Tithe. I do. Obviously, if you wanted to take the time there, you could figure out like what cards were left exactly in the bottom of your deck.
Manipulation of the mind.
I'm not going to do that. Especially because it really doesn't, you can't do anything about it. Like, you're kind of locked into going for it. There, alright. What cards are going to be good against this deck? Ray of Enfeeblement. Noxious Grasp. Those are the obvious ones. Glistening Deluge. Probably not so much. I mean, the other 3 sweepers I have in my deck are all much better against Core Spirit Dancer kind of things. I assume they have like the Totem Armor thing in their deck. That makes Damnation and Path of Peril not always great, but they're still pretty good. Probably don't want Maze Mind Tome here. 3 steps ahead is probably a little on the expensive side. Do I want Duress? Probably not. Sounds a little bit awkward, but these are some very good spells. Esper Sentinel's pretty annoying. I'm going to give him their card, and then I'm going to Bloodchief's Thirst this and pay. Guess I can afford to put this on black now. Because I drew an island. Had I not drawn the island, I think I would have put that on blue. So I do need to get to triple blue. Giver of Runes. That's a card I forgot existed. Guess it's good in their deck. Probably in a Fatal push it, but I definitely don't want to do it on my turn because they can just have that the Flash Aura card. Don't really care if they save it. I guess I'll opt. See what we see, but it doesn't really matter if this thing stays alive. I guess I actually do need to kill it so that there are enough cards in the yard that I can drown in the Loch. Let me go close my window. No. No, no, no. Come on, be out of creatures. Oh, no, it's the Amped Raptor. Getting... Giver of Runes. Alright. I think I'm just going to jam Jace. Know myself. Maybe I find a better thing to Snapcaster next turn. Maybe they don't have enough auras to kill the Jace. It's looking like they have enough auras. They have a Hammer Hand.
Fortunately, I won't have to remember this.
This is looking like a dig for a sweeper spot. It's always fun when you play against the Light Eyes, Light Paw, whatever this guy, Light Paw, Emperor's Voice deck, because people just draw the most random cards because they've got all these weird one-ofs in their deck. It's kind of like my deck, where you just always get random cards because you're playing a bunch of one-ofs. I wonder if they have Reprieve. They can't have counters in their deck with these Amped Raptors. I should stop worrying about it. Demonic Ruckus. I'm gonna leave a mark. On sweeper. I did it. I just want the Jace. And I am going to deny them a card, even though it means that I'm not going to. Oh, they screwed up. They should have waited for me to pay, because I was definitely going to pay. And then I would have probably been winning. I guess I could have taken one more hit from this thing, but I'd rather not. I've never seen this card actually go to the graveyard before. I didn't know what it did. The auto tapper really hates the one underground river in my deck.
You've already lost. You just don't know it.
It's a nice little treat to get to surveil. I'm going to play this first just to see if that affects their decision for how they split them, thinking that their light paws might live if they split it in a certain way. Like if I get a 3-1 split, I'm going to take the 3 cards. We'll just take the 2 random cards. They got me a little bit there, I suppose. Choose a creature to be my ring bearer. Snapcaster Mage. I'll let the ring bearer attack. Fabled Passage had no targets. Sand isn't great. I have like some cheap interaction and an opt. I don't have Jace or Tainted Pact, so it's like I'm not close to having a quick win. I think it's still a keep. This would, I think, definitely be a keep on the play. On the draw, knowing that I'm playing against a Luris deck, which this one has Restless Bivouac in their deck. It's not a very good decision, I would say. Oh, that's how they nerfed Ocelot's Pride. It costs 2 now. Yeah. Who would pay 2 for something like that? Things are looking pretty good for me. Let's see what else they're working with. I'll be perfectly happy to just take Luris. I'm going to lose to the Bivouac. Be a little bit careful trying to win this game because they do have double discharge, and so they can spend 5 energy on discharges. Which is enough to kill the Jace. Probably just go Snapcaster, Seek New Knowledge. Let the Bivouac hit me and become a 4/4. I'll be able to block it with the Hall of Storm Giants eventually. It seems pretty likely to bait out a Galvanic Discharge on the Snapcaster Mage from them. Which means I won't have to worry about the Jace dying. How did they spend... Oh, I guess they spent one of their energy, one of their extra energies on the Ether Hub. So now I can discharge for 3. This is a win in 2 turns. Just Waterlogged Teachings for Tainted Pact, and then untapping Jace. The only thing that really screws me up is if they drew another Galvanic Discharge. I guess they could also just play Static Prison to get energy, which would be kind of a... That'd be a weird play for the opponent to make there. I think if they knew my deck list, it's actually the right play. But they'd have to really be pretty confident that they knew what was going on. Because Static Prison does almost nothing against me, and getting up to having access to 5 energy makes a huge difference with the Galvanic Discharge. Obviously, I could have played in a different way and gotten to resolve my Dig Through Time. Like, I could have gone Waterlogged Teachings to get Tainted Pact and then play Dig Through Time, but There's nothing left in my deck that I need to dig through time because I know the exact contents of their hand. Had they had an unknown card there, I could have maybe gotten the Tainted Pact and then played Dig Through Time and tried to get an untapped land and a 1 mana card that draws a card, and that would have allowed me to beat Galvanic Discharge. Because I could have gone for the combo kill, and then when they discharged the Jace, I could have drawn a card in response when I had no cards in my library to win.
Are they your enemies or mine?
Which, had they played the Static Prison just as a way to get 2 energy, that's what I probably would have had to do.
It's a matter of giving.
I might not have found that, but had I not found that, I would have just found an answer to the Bivouac and we would have played on. So this is like kind of pure beatdown white-red energy. I definitely want the Noxious Grasp, the Raven Feeblement, and I think I want the Glistening Deluge as well. I don't think I want anything else. I'll trim Maze Mind Tome, Censor, and what else do I not like? Maybe Sleight of Hand, it's the worst cantrip. This is a good hand. This might be one of those games where I wound up wanting the Tainted Pact for a sweeper. I guess I can afford to just Bloodchief's Thirst this. Sometimes this is a pretty good one to ignore, but I've got 2 more removal spells, and I can just play an untapped land, play 2 mana removal, play a tapped land, play another 2 mana removal. A Johnny would be the most annoying card for them to have here. Actually, I lied. Amped Raptor into a Johnny would be the most annoying thing. Unlicensed Hearse. Seems unlikely to have any effect on the game at all. I guess eventually it'll just turn into a big creature that'll clock me. And I suppose that they did see a couple Delve cards. Still, it makes sense to board in if they're taking out Static Prisons and they don't have anything else, but outside of that, it doesn't seem very impressive. Hope they don't have any more access to red mana. I think I want to burn the Edict here, just to not be taking damage. The Edict it isn't really a reliable way to kill the hearse, because they're going to have something that's crewing it. That's annoying. Obviously, the Go for the Throat just can't deal with the hearse at all. I'm going to kill this Johnny in their upkeep. Actually, I'm going to kill it in response to them hearsing. That's the best time to do it. I didn't want him to just get 2 cards for free off of the hearse. I'm doing it in my main phase. Probably just be shocking and playing Rusko next turn. We'll go from there. So far this game isn't going great. That's kind of a function of the fact that they got to resolve, even though like I kept a hand that I've had decent removal spells, they have played 2 of their 2-drops that are like board advantage 2-drops where they got 2 permanents off of a Johnny and off of Amped Raptor. So even though I've kind of traded with 3 of their spells for 3 of my spells, I'm behind on board. That's the power of this white-red deck. Jolted Awake.
Nothing
Nothing can break our bond.
Yeah. I don't think I'm beating this now. They didn't go for it? Why didn't they? Flip their Johnny. I don't know. They're just going to flip their Johnny now, and I'm still going to lose, but it seems like they should flip their Johnny on their turn. Because they flip it, then they get to activate it, and they've got a red permanent, so they deal me a bunch of damage. I guess the only argument for the way they played is it means that if I have a card that can kill a planeswalker, I don't get to like right away spend my mana on killing it as a planeswalker. And Licensed Turks is actually going to start hurting quite a lot. I wonder if Rusko isn't actually all that good in this matchup. It's pretty good in the games where they don't get Goblin Bombardment in play. But once you fall behind like Goblin Bombardment, a Johnny, the Rusko is just comically bad. Because you just play it and it dies immediately. Like, saves you a little bit of damage. But for a 4-mana card, it's really underwhelming once you get behind in this fashion. Yeah, I think I've seen enough. Now this is a hand. Drowned in the Loch, not looking so hot. Having Jace and Tainted Pact in my hand at the start of the game, looking pretty hot. I do have a Glistening Deluge, but it's probably not going to get cast. I'm just going to hope that they tap out on their turn 3 and I just win. Yeah, I was going to say, it's possible if they had played a Johnny there and I drew another source of black mana, I might have just played Glistening Deluge. I think this board isn't scary enough for me to give up on the turn 4 kill to Glistening Deluge it. It's a little scary if they leave all their mana up. Come on, put Loris in your hand. Really just want them to spend 3 mana. If they only spend 2 mana, it is actually a little scary. But I do have the option of just Glistening Deluging next turn. I don't have to play the Tainted Pact. I can do a
To the hunt.
Galvanic Discharge. This is another fairly ineffective sideboard card. Had they just not cast it, I probably would not have tried to kill them. I can sort of see from where from their perspective, they can't just give me the credit for having the turn 4 kill here when I haven't even cast a spell yet. Like I haven't done anything to search for the parts of the combo, I just happen to draw them. On one hand, the fact that I hadn't cast a spell by that point in the game is kind of an indication that I probably kept a pretty good hand. But it still might not be the case that I just have them dead. This is not a good hand. It is a double Tainted Pact hand, so it's, well, it's 3 lands short of having a turn 4 win. 3 lands short is a lot. I think I'll pitch the Dig Through Time. And I'll just lead on the Undercity Sewers rather than casting Sleight of Hand, because I don't really know what I'm going to need. Seems like keeping the Stern's Golden on top was a good choice, which that was definitely a risky choice. Probably going to be a while before I cast the Sleight of Hand, because I'm going to want to leave up, change the equation. Don't care about that. It's just going to come back as a 4/4 next turn if I counter it, so I guess it's better to let it just be in play. Probably I want to cycle Fetid Pools now to give me a little bit more food for Treasure Cruise. Although I would guess I'm going to have to counter something this turn. Hopefully it's not Karn, because I can't counter Karn. Change the Equation is a really good counter in Historic now, just because so many of the decks are Luris decks, and this just counters almost everything in their deck. Palu Kronos. I didn't counter that one. That would have given them a ton of mana, too, because it would have turned this into a tap for 4, which would have meant they could have tapped Nykthos, which would have tapped for 5. So those are all things that would have been bad. And rather than missing my land drop, I'm playing Fetid Pools. I was probably going to play 3 steps ahead, and then I'll still be 1 short. This just is going to make their Nykthos tap for 1 million, that's fine. They never attack me, I like this. I think they've missed like 2 attacks so far. Which I guess they're worried about flash creatures or something, but it seems a little crazy. Aura. It's just another way to mana. I'm countering the payoffs, letting everything else resolve. Oh no, the attacks have started. Kind of feels like this is a spot where Thoughtseize doesn't do anything. They do have 2 cards in hand. Maybe it does do something. I have enough life to work with for sure. I guess the one thing playing the Thoughtseize did do is it means I can't play the 5 mana mode on 3 steps ahead now. Which only matters if they top deck something this turn. And although Path of Peril would kill their whole board, it would make it so the Fanatic of Ronus has just started coming back as 4/4s triggering Kiora, so that would not be good. I think this is fine. It's definitely a borderline counter. I think what I'm probably going to want to do on my turn is play Jace, mill myself, and then use that to fuel a treasure cruise. And Jace doesn't die in one hit. It does die in two. Alternately, I now have Path of Peril, Cling to Dust one of the Kioras. I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this Jace, mill myself, treasure cruise, and then next turn I might Path of Peril just to make it so Jace doesn't die for the second attack. Archmage's Charm is the best of these. So leave in my graveyard. Would I cut down any of these things? I don't think so. So I'll leave up Stern Scolding. Oh no, they drew something. I don't like this. Actually, it wasn't that bad.
No one likes a bully. Let's try this.
I want to kill Kiora in response to the Fanatic of Ronus coming out. It's a free card for them, but alternately I can just Sheoldred's Edict the Fanatic of Ronus and Cling to Dust the other one. Oh, they can do both this turn.
One drop ripples and grows.
I guess I can... Yeah, it's fine. Well, it's not really fine, but I couldn't do anything about it. Starting to get out of hand. I really needed them to just draw a Llanowar Elf this turn. With white in their deck, interesting.
This will come in handy.
Backup Jace is actually useful. Come on, Damnation. Go for the throat. think I'm just going to Edict the Kiora. And I will either play a Snapcaster Mage to block the Snapcaster Trailblazer, or just kill it now. Alternately, I could Snap Drown and lock that, which is probably better. This means they need to send these two larger creatures at the Jace if they want to kill it. I assume they have no interest in trading off the Outcaster Trailblazer.
Fortunately, I won't have to remember this.
Could make a fancy play with Jace where I play the Jace and then when they attack it I Otawara it. That requires not playing a land this turn though, which I think I want to make a land drop, and I didn't actually need to make a land drop because I forgot that this was only going to cost 1 mana on this 4/4. That's alright. Now I have access to Cling to Dust and go for the Throat. The deck has enough air in it that I keep hoping that they hit air, but I guess it's... And they do have a lot of good hits as well. Is that a good hit? It's Karn.
Piece by piece, our victory will come together.
Guess I'm getting stone-brained here.
Innovation is our advantage.
How did I know? How did I know? So I have to win with damage now, which I can do that. I think no matter, well, I guess it depends on what I'm going to get 1 card off of the Stonebrain because I lost my Jace Mysterious Wielder. So I might play that instead, but I think I'm probably going to go for the Throat, Outcaster Trailblazer. This is like the best card for me to draw. Because it gives me a damage source. The Karn is going to be shutting off my creatures. I don't like that. What would they put on top if I killed the Cavalier of Thorns right now? Probably just another Cavalier of Thorns. Wonder what they're gonna get. I probably can't get to the point where I can actually attack the Karn. That's the problem. My sad artifacts are all turned off.
I welcome all assistance.
Wonder if they have that. Okay, that's not good for me. That's really not good for me. So I guess if I'd been thinking about Portal to Phyrexia, I could have killed the Cavalier of Thorns to make them... No, the Nykthos still taps for 1,000,000 because of Leyline of the Guild Pact. If I do this, I can't afford to cling to dust, which is not ideal. I don't think there's actually anything left in my deck that saves me. I was hoping they were gonna... I could get them to the spot where they were gonna animate the Portal to Phyrexia and I could kill it with a removal spell, but I don't even think I have any removal spells left in my deck that work for doing that. So that didn't go very well. Disruptor Flute's a pretty good answer to Karn. Cut down was not that impressive. I guess Narset is good against Kiora, and it's pretty good against Outcaster Trailblazer, although obviously if the Outcaster Trailblazer is in play, it can attack it, which is not as good as you might like. This is probably not a good matchup for Spell Snare. Stern Scolding actually seems fine. Well, I don't really want Rusko. Do I want Toxic Deluge? Yes. I don't think I want Path of Peril. And I guess I'll trim the Sleight of Hand. What's better, Inquisition or Duress or Sleight of Hand? Maybe something else entirely. I think Duress is probably better because it's the Karn And Storm the Festival are the scary parts. Kind of don't want to play Spell Pierce just because it gets bad so quickly. Sand has plenty of lands. I knew I was going to wind up shocking with Watery Grave, so I figured I would just do it this turn. It kind of disguises more information. That's fine. There's also maybe an outside chance that I decide I want to cast Tainted Pact that turn, but probably not. So we change the equation a Cavalier of Thorns. I don't think I would change the equation an Outcaster Trailblazer. I would just play Sorin's Ransom. And I'm going to bluff my way into them not playing Karn this turn. That, I will not react to it anyway. This is a Beside You, not a Nykthos. Maybe shouldn't have even played this. I could have just Tainted Pacted for a Jace, and then went Snapcaster Tainted Pact, and in 1 and 2 turns. It's a little scary to do that because it means that they'll probably just try to do whatever they can to make it so I can't win the next turn, and I don't have any ways to stop it. Those are two pretty good ones. Now I have a removal spell that can kill an animated Portal to Phyrexia, right? Because this is going to turn it into a green permanent. That's good deck building. I want that. It's going to take a long time for that to come online, I think. Ooh. Is there anything they can do with... I guess they have access to like all the mana in the like every color of mana, but it's not like they're gonna have Dovin's Veto in their deck. I think I'm just gonna try to win. I guess they could have some sort of instant that blows up a Planeswalker. I don't know if Beast Within is a card that's available on Arena. I'm just going to go for it. I think it's very likely they don't have anything. The way that their deck is constructed, like, they want to mostly have permanents that work with their like Nykthos engine, so probably don't have much in the way of instant speed interaction in their 75. But maybe we're about to find out that they have a little bit. I am, like, one of the reasons I'm not deciding to wait is that I'm pretty far off of things that would help me in terms of making it safer to, like, where I could win through something. I need either 2 more lands, or I need a land and an instant speed card. And while my hand does sort of support waiting to some extent, I don't know that it's really that worthwhile, because if they just draw a Nykthos, they could have potentially, like, played their whole hand all at once and maybe overwhelmed the defenses ahead. This is quite a hand. The only thing that's a little awkward is that I can't go turn 1 duress into turn 2 interaction. But they didn't even play a ramp creature that turn, so I don't need to. So I think I'm going to Edict them now. The next turn I can duress them and leave up Tainted Pact / change the equation. And probably just win on turn 4. There. I will say you have to be very careful with this deck in terms of not assuming that things like Castle Lochthwain are going to come into play untapped just because you have 5 lands in play. Because a lot of lands don't work with it. That I don't care about.
Not to brag, but my friend's kind of a big deal.
It's so much easier to win with this deck when you draw Tainted Pact and Jace in your opening hand. And, like, honestly, that is, I think, a big part of the power of this deck is you just get, you know, the 10 or 15% of games, you just get super easy wins like this. Maybe 10 or 15% is an overestimate. I guess they have Scrap Shooter in their deck because of the Goblin Bombardment decks. It's kind of cool. I've been playing a lot of Vintage Cube lately, and Scrap Shooter is one of the cards I don't really understand why it hasn't been tried in Vintage Cube. Like, for a long time, Reclamation Sage was in Vintage Cube, and I always thought it was just, like, unbelievably bad. And when they printed Scrap Shooter, I was like, all right, they're going to upgrade Reclamation Sage to a card that might actually be good. But then instead they replaced it with this card Foundry Breaker, which was an even worse Reclamation Sage. It was unbelievable to me. That's the end of the Vintage Cube aside for this video.
Of the mind. Always fancy.
Opponent does not have a companion. This hand is obviously fine. I probably need to play Undercity Sewers on turn 1. I guess I get to see what their first turn is to decide whether or not I just have to leave up Stern Scolding. I guess there's also the option I just leave up Stern Scolding and plan to cycle Censor if need be. This is some sort of fairies theme deck. I guess I'm going to leave up Stern Scolding and hope that they don't ninjutsu me. I have no idea what sort of fairies-related shenanigans you can get up to in Historic. Presumably, if they're really a fairies deck, they have the Yuta Takahashi card. Oh, they're going to ninja. Oh, it's... This isn't a draw card ninja, is it? No, it's just a 2-2. It's a 2-2 with a dream. Okay, I'm going to Stern Scold in this one. I think I want to start working towards Path of Peril rather than leaving up Censor. I think I'm just going to cycle Censor. I think it's going to be hard to use against this blue-black ninja deck. Please don't play that Kaito. Ninja Kaito would be bad for me. I think that this is... So this is an Alchemy modified card. I think they made it cheaper to ninja. What does it do? Enters from your hand. If it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. Okay, so they didn't do it because they weren't going to have any other creatures. I could Inquisition them. They only have one card in their hand, though, and they didn't play it, so... It's maybe a creature removal spell, or it's something not worth playing. So I'll probably send the Inquisition back with Seek New Knowledge. Please don't ninja me. I want to take 6 damage. Oh, I see. They're like switcherooing their guys so that they can get a token. This deck is pretty fancy. This reduces the ninja costs. That's why they're able to do this. Yeah, goodbye Inquisition. Hopefully they... I think that they don't kill me if they put everything in play. They can have a ton of lords in play. Like they can attack... They can be hitting me for 12 if they put this other Silver Fur Master into play. Come on, Blackland. It costs too much life. I knew my deck wouldn't let me down. This is on a mulligan to 5 from them. They did get to be on the play. I think they were on the play this game. Which they were on the play for sure. That does make their cards a lot better. Just going to get rid of this now rather than let them attack. Who knows what it would turn into if I let them attack. Then we'll start doing something with Claim to Dust. I think I'll start by just getting a card out of my yard. So I get to draw. I can eventually gain 3 life, maybe. Do they have Fairy Mastermind? Filters. Okay. That could have been better for me. I'm almost definitely going to want to scry on my upkeep. I think this is buffed because it has the scry too. I don't know. I remember how this card worked originally. Alright, so if they scry top, I'm going to mill them with Jace. If they scry top at all, I think I'm milling them. If they go bottom, I'm milling myself. Just because milling myself gives me fuel for Cling to Dust. And I guess there's no reason to do this before I draw, because I'm going to have another draw here with the Jace. Oh wait, there was a reason to do this, because this mills before I get the draw, so it defeats the purpose of the scry. It's also possible I want to just activate this, because there's a decent chance I want to just steal the Fairy Seer. Let's see what we got on top. I don't think I want to invest 5 mana in that. I think I'm just going to go with kill this. Take this. Maybe could have activated Maze Mind Tome on my turn, seeing if I found something even better. This does make it so that if they top deck the Thoughtseize, they don't get to take my card. I don't like it that my thing just died. I do like it that I now have Cut Down in my hand. I'll get to start getting some value off of Cling to Dust. Ingenious Infiltrator. So with 10 mana, I could go Tainted Pact, find the other Jace, snap Tainted Pact, get rid of my deck, play the Jace, but I only have 9 mana. So that's a win over 2 turns. Or I could just draw Jace here. Jace. Or I could just draw Jace here. Or here. So playing an untapped land there means I have access to Tainted Pact, snap Tainted Pact. Come on, Jace. Alright, so this is a matchup I've never played before. Mystical Dispute seems good. This thing is probably good as a blocker. This card, I haven't found a lot of spots where I really like it. I'm going to try it here, though. Don't think I want Psychic Frog. This gives creatures -1/-1. Kills some of their stuff, but it doesn't kill a lot of their stuff. This is -4/-1. Why are there no white ninjas? So my cards work better. Probably I want Duress. Like they had Spell Pierces in their deck, which is not the best target in the world for Duress, but you would assume that they're going to be boarding in Mystical Dispute type cards. Probably don't want Rusko. Probably don't want 3 Steps Ahead. Definitely want Stern Scolding. Spell Snare might be bad. I would, even though they have a bunch of 2-drops, most of them I think have ninjutsu. But I guess the games I'm winning, I'm probably killing the creatures enough that they don't just get the freely ninjutsu, which makes Spell Snare eventually good. It's probably better than Censor. Change the Equation can counter the 1-drops in addition to the 2-drops, so yeah. Maybe Censor's worse than or better than Sleight of Hand. That's probably just a mistake I've been making throughout this video. Just the fact that you can cycle this at instant speed and you can sometimes cast it probably makes it better than sorcerer speed. Alright, I'll keep this. Get 2 1-mana plays, although I can't... Oh, I forgot that the ninja decks would be wanting to do this. I guess Tamiyo really shuts down this Ornithopter's ninjutsuing plans. Let's see if they play... If they play a second ninjutsu enabler, then I'm not going to play Tamiyo. I'll just play a tap land so I can Fatal Push. I guess I can also just Fatal Push off of the pathway. But I'm shutting down this Ornithopter.
Is there a deeper
There's no way it's getting through. This is my anti-ninjutsu strategy, just 0-3 walls. Alright, they've gotten around my anti-ninjutsu plan. Well, I'm going to see what I draw. Well, I saw the line. I think what I'm going to do is not attack, plan to just block, and either play Fatal Push or cycle Fetid Pools. It's a little bit dangerous playing Fatal Push when they have mana up. And I've already blocked because they could just ninjutsu the Moon Circuit Hacker back to their hand and put a different ninja into play. That Ornithopter's coming back. playing the Maze Mind Tome into the Spell Pierce is completely fine. I'm perfectly happy to trade Maze Mind Tome for a Spell Pierce. One thing that's a little bit scary is it does make it so that this was less safe of a blocker because they could ninjutsu in the whatever the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles guy is called. Which, like, it would have been bad for me had I blocked the Moon Circuit Hacker there. This ninja deck seems like it's pretty good, at least on the play. Kind of suspect on the draw it gets a lot worse for the deck. I'm going to be playing Fatal Push on my turn. And I'm not going to just jam this into Spell Pierce right now, because that just allows them to spend their mana for free. I probably want to drown in the Loch the Moon Circuit Hacker before attackers. Surgical Extraction, my Fatal Push. Alright. You get them all. Maybe I should have done this upkeep. It could have prevented them from negating by doing it on my turn. I still think Spell Pierce is the one that they're going to have the most copies of. I do have a win next turn if they have 0 opposition. Kind of not expecting them to have 0 opposition. Given that they've gotten to filter through a lot. And they're getting priority right now. Okay, alright. So this is, like, if they have miscasts and Spell Pierces, it's a pretty good sign that they do not have a ton of negates.
I've got them all figured out.
That was an insane draw. I can even tell that they don't have Shieldred's Edict in their hand because they would have gotten priority when I cast the Jace. Just in case they wanted to respond to the Jace being on the stack by playing Shieldred's Edict. Which obviously they would not want to do. But that's the way the arena priority system works. This matchup was kind of scary. Playing against an aggressive deck that's filled with miscasts and Spell Pierces is not, I think, what my deck is best suited to beating. And while their creatures like don't hit incredibly hard, they do a bunch of stuff. And many of them have received alchemy buffs, making them seem even more fierce than they might actually be. Final round. One hand ink, or one land isn't going to do it, and this is against a Luris deck. Definitely keeping. Which of these cards do I like the least? Maybe just Drown in the Loch. So I'll start by putting this on black. I'm eventually going to need a fourth land and a second black land, but I don't think I need it so much that I want to just take it right away. Now I think I'm going to leave up Change the Equation to maybe counter Johnny. That's a good one to counter. Gonna opt now because it doesn't do anything to leave the opt up, and I could hit a tapped land. Do I want to just take a land here? I think still no. Holy cow. What an assembly of cards they have. Guess I'm going to take Galvanic Discharge. Do I really care about an armada of 1/1s? Not really. Wait, didn't they play this in the wrong order? They just missed a life. I mean, this guy got to be a 2/2, but you're one life short. I think well, I can wait to the beginning of combat, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down the Guide of Souls before it gets to trigger. Oh, I took an extra point by doing this. Forgot the Lean in Vanguard had a trigger. And what do I want to do about this Luris? I can't snap Change the Equation yet. So I can either wait and snap cut down it, or just snap opt it right now. Or, well, snap opt and just block and use my mana. And if I brick on answers to the Luris, I can use my mana next turn to use a castle, which I guess I can't play untapped Castle Answers right now. Oh, yuck. The problem is Path of Peril does not kill Luris, and my only way to get white mana so that it can kill Luris is this pathway that's currently sitting in play. It's not ideal. I'm going to be drawing a card off the Black Castle. Draw. It's an Inquisition. Yikes. I think my life total's low enough. I'm just going to kill one. Also might want to activate Castle Lochthwain again, so it's good to get a card out of my hand. I do have the Restless Reef to block this turn. Because remember, this is a nerfed Galvanic Discharge. It only does 2. It's an ambush. There's no way for them to see that coming. I have so many different lands in play. Just perfectly disguises my creature lands. We're making a fancy play here. Dig through time. Like this. With it on the stack, Castle Lochthwain, saving myself 1 point of life. Actually, saving myself 2, because if the dig through time resolved first, I would take 2 damage. I guess I could have gone Castle Lochthwain first and then dig through time to take only 1 damage. Right there. What was it? I think what they wanted to do was to discharge their things so they could get more energons for Unstable Amulet, or maybe that was a just I give up play. I don't know.
We can figure a way out of this.
So this is the straight beatdown version of the Johnny energy deck, which I think is the easier deck for my deck to play against, at least. I think I just want those 3, and I will be cutting Maze Mine Tome. What else have I been cutting in this matchup? I like Rusko in this matchup. Especially against the non-Goblin Bombardment versions, which I think the Goblin Bombardment versions usually have black in them as well. Don't like 3 steps ahead, and I guess I'm taking out Sleight of Hand. Pretty good hand. What scary thing would be if they play a Johnny? I guess this is a cat for a Johnny, so this is like a more cat-centric build with this deck. Yeah, that is a good start.
To the hunt!
I'm probably going to want to just Tainted Pact to find a sweeper. I've got 2 3-mana sweepers, and the Tainted Pact bricks if I find 2 Jaces before I find one of the 3-mana sweepers. Actually, I have 3 3-mana sweepers. I think I'm actually just going to take it, and I suppose I screwed up by took an extra point of damage because of my indecision. Alright, I think I'm taking the damage. And I'm just going to Tainted Pact for a sweeper. Right, the other choice was to play Snap Cut Down and then take no damage. And, you know, just get to untap. But the problem is that they're going to have 3 power in play after that. I'm kind of behind either way. I did mill through my other Tainted Pact already, which means that in order to achieve the combo, I'm probably going to have to Snapcaster this Tainted Pact. Which again, that's not the only way to win. Yeah, I have 29 cards left. 2 of them are Jace's. So the other thing that could happen is I just play Jace and mill myself a bunch and win like a control game where I eventually deck. Perfectly reasonable way to win. Okay, so now I probably want to snap Deluge. Trying the Jace makes it a little bit tricky.
Where shall we hunt today?
Or not. Now I can just sweep because I drew Damnation. This Damnation at least looks cool. I don't know if it's the best card in the world, but it does look cool. Bliss of the West. Okay. The one bad thing that can happen to me here is if they have Galvanic Discharge in their hand as their last card. They can kill the Jace. I can snap Tainted Pact. And if I find an untapped blue in my bottom 2, I win. I guess the other thing I can do is I could also just... Oh, no, I think that's really the only thing I can do. Hope this doesn't give this thing flying. I didn't think about how that card works. I was just thinking I'm going to chump to save some damage. And also maybe bait them into playing Galvanic Discharge. I guess I can also tell from the timing triggers that they don't have Galvanic Discharge, probably. Or no, maybe I wasn't really paying that close of attention. Could go for Toxic Deluge to put me to 1. I think I'm just going to go for the win rather than trying to play it slow with like Path of Peril and then trying to set up a spot where I can play the Jace and protect it with Change the Equation. That would get me through Galvanic Discharge, but I haven't gone enough cards deep yet. Now we're getting to the ones where I need to pay attention. This is not an untapped blue. Alright, so if this is an untapped blue, I'm in good shape. It is. Otherwise, I was going to lose to Galvanic Discharge.
You've already lost. You just don't know it yet.
They didn't have it.